Hey, what's going on, people? This is your boy, man, Mike. This is a conversation that we actually had early Saturday morning on Coach Unchained show, and it's something that I talked about, and quite frankly, it just hasn't gotten off my mind because the Atlanta Falcons obviously are struggling offensively. We don't know where these guys are going to go, but this is a conversation that may not go anywhere anytime soon, and it's a real possibility that it could be. So what exactly am I talking about? Well, Kirk Cousins. We got to figure out what he is, and we got to figure out what the future is for Michael Penix. And quite frankly, let's just be honest, man. If this Atlanta Falcons offense, this Atlanta Falcon team, these guys are up and down. You looking at Kirk Cousins at the age of 36 right now. We really don't know if he's on the up. Does he have 1 year, 2 year, 3 years? All we know right now, this Atlanta Falcons quarterback has a huge question mark. And I'm talking about a big question mark. They're talking about a guy with a torn Achilles. Granted that he is playing so much better this year. And look, Kirk Cousins is a valuable quarterback. So don't want to make it seem as though that Kirk Cousins isn't a quarterback that isn't doing a good job. He's obviously top 5 in passing yards for the Atlanta Falcons. So he's doing a wonderful job. He set the franchise record with 509 yards passing on Matt Ryan's induction day. So you look at what he is and what he can bring to this organization and bring to this team, he has tremendous value. So I don't think there's any question on whether or not Kirk Cousins can indeed and will indeed be, the Atlanta Falcons. But this is a conversation that you have to have. So this is not really anything new in regards to me, because it's something that we talked about earlier when they drafted Michael Penix. This is something that you have. So the question, let's just say that he has 2 years left, okay? I don't know. A quarterback at the age of 36, 37, 38. Do you really want to keep this guy around when you got a young stud in Michael Penix, who's currently right now, I believe he's 25 years old. And, there's a lot of question marks. So if the Atlanta Falcons believe that Kirk Cousins and they want to compete to go to the playoffs, then Kirk Cousins this season is that guy. The Atlanta Falcons have obviously one of the better offensive line. You got a huge stud, all right? That boy, Chris Lindstrom, is an absolute monster. And then you pair him with a offensive tackle like another monster who's very good in the running game, and Caleb McGarry. He's been pretty good all year. I mean, besides the first game with going after TJ Watt, but TJ Watt is, he's an animal in his own right. So I don't think, the Falcons have some weapons. You got a running back in Tyler Algier. We got to figure out what he's going to be. Will he be back with the Atlanta Falcons? Are you going to bring him back with the Atlanta Falcons to pair him with Bijan Robinson? Now, I think Bijan Robinson, no matter what quarterback it is, he's a guy that you have to. Bijan Robinson is an absolute monster. So the question is whether or not would I trade him, and how long. That's the thing. How long would you keep him here? All right. Because again, Mike Penix, he's 25 years old. And how long do you continue to sit him behind a veteran quarterback at the age of 36? So my thing is, you have to figure this out now. I think with the Atlanta Falcons, they were 6-3, but sitting at 6-5, they continue. Let's just say the Atlanta Falcons lose the next couple of games. This conversation is going to heat up. So I want to get on this right now. All right. So you look at Kyle Pitts with his 5th year. All right. The Atlanta Falcons have to figure this out, and they have to figure it out fast. All right. And I think this year is where it's going to take place. Why? Because Kyle Pitts, you have to negotiate his contract in that 5th year going into 2025 season. All right. So with Kyle Pitts playing so much better, you got to figure out if he is better suited to play with a quarterback with Kirk Cousins, a veteran guy that can help kind of put him in the right spots, or he's better suited with the quarterback. I'm talking about an absolute stud and Michael Penix, who can flame that thing. I mean, this dude, look, he flicks the ball. I haven't seen too many quarterbacks, the Aaron Rodgers, the Mike Vicks, the Brett Favre. Like, these guys have special ability to lace that football, and this is what you have to figure out. Is he better with a Kyle Pitts better with Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix? And I believe personally, and this is you only have 1.5 years. All right. I don't think you have 2 years to figure out if it's going to be Penix or if it's going to be Kirk Cousins for Kyle Pitts. So that's one of those things that you have to take in consideration, because you may need a wide receiver. All right. Obviously, every year there's some pretty good wide receivers coming out of drafts. And again, if you have Kirk Cousins here and you have a guy like Kyle Pitts at hand, you got to figure out if you're going to give him a long-term contract. That's another one of those things that you have to take in consideration. So, Kyle Pitts, Mike Penix, or Kyle Pitts and Kirk Cousins. That's something to think about. All right. So that is the first thing. The second thing, when you look at Michael Penix, the third thing is Zach Robinson and this coaching staff. Do you really personally believe that Zach Robinson that he came here to the Atlanta Falcons? When you have a quarterback, when you have a team and a coach like the Rams, Sean McVay, do you think that he left Sean McVay to come here to coach an older quarterback? I personally don't believe it. I think he wants his own project. I think, a guy like Raheem, they wants their own project to kind of build upon DJ Williams, Bill Williams. So these guys, some young studs, man, some young coaches. And I personally believe they did not come here to coach an older quarterback. He could have stayed with the Rams if he wanted to come here and coach an older quarterback. So that's another reason why I'm looking at Zach Robinson. I'm looking at Kirk Cousins. I'm looking at Michael Penix. Is like, did they really come here to do that? I personally don't believe so. Look, man, it's so many things in regards to this Kirk Cousins situation that you have to take seriously. And you really, for whatever reason, I know the Atlanta Falcons signed a big time contract with Kirk Cousins. They can kind of get out of the second year for the most part. I think they'll save about $25 to $27 million if they decide to trade him. I think that's another thing. You got a team like, you got the Raiders that could be searching for a quarterback. You got quite a few teams that could be searching for a quarterback that might be looking for, quarterback to help them get to the next level, because you got some good defenses and a team with a pretty good quarterback to go with a defense. I think that's a perfect opportunity for a guy like Kirk Cousins. So, man, with Zach Robinson come here, I personally do not believe that he came here to coach just Kirk Cousins. That's just my humble opinion. So what would I trade for Kirk Cousins? All right. So this is the draft compensation, in my opinion, for Kirk Cousins. And this is what I'm willing to give up: a second, a third, and 2 fourth-round picks. Now, if a team wanted to give me a first-round pick, I'll take that. Maybe a couple of fours, maybe a couple of fifths. But the thing is, when you have a guy like Michael Penix behind him, you definitely want to, get as much draft compensation as you possibly can, especially with the possibility that the Atlanta Falcons with Matthew Judon being, at this point, he's been a disappointment in regards to him not getting the sacks. So you might want to get those draft picks back. And getting those draft picks back with an older veteran quarterback, that could quite possibly be, and I think he does have trade value. That's just one of my things. Again, because in the NFL right now, there's a lot of quarterbacks. And I'm talking about a lot of quarterbacks that are, a lot of quarterbacks at this particular point, they're just not living up to the hype. I'm talking about young quarterbacks, a lot of young quarterbacks. We just saw Daniel Jones get released after he just signed a major deal. That's another thing. So nothing in this NFL right now is a guarantee. You could have, you can be up one time, sign a big time contract, and the next thing you know, you're gone. So me personally, man, like I said before, with the Atlanta Falcons and the honest opinion about Matthew Judon, they could quite possibly be looking at, a wasted third round pick. I won't say wasted third round pick, but, they did not get the value from that, the trade for Matthew Judon that they were hoping. So get that back. Trade a guy like Kirk, trade Kirk Cousins away for a second round, a third round, and 2 fourths. If that's possible, I would do that. All right. So again, this has been your boy, Mike, man. And like I said before, I just don't see Michael Penix being traded. So you're looking at Michael Penix, and whether or not he has trade value, I think he'll have value. I think both of those guys have value. I said earlier today with Coach Unchained and the crew that, both of these guys definitely have value at quarterback. I think both of these guys have value in teams that would want quarterbacks. Everybody would want to be in the Atlanta Falcons position where you have 2 quarterbacks to kind of, to have, at your disposal. Michael Penix being one of those guys, I think at 25, injuries have it. You got to figure out what he's going to be at this particular point. But I think if a team decided they want to bring in and they want to ask the Atlanta Falcons for a Michael Penix, I think the only way the Atlanta Falcons trade Michael Penix if they can find a way to get a two first-round picks. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Falcons will end up, if it came down to it, if the season didn't go that they wanted to go, they hoped it would go, I don't see the Atlanta Falcons trading Michael Penix. It will most likely be a guy like Kirk Cousins. So, and on top of that, man, let's just keep it real. It'll be a freaking waste, an absolute waste to not only draft Michael Penix when you had the opportunity to go get a guy, so many other defensive linemen, edge guys in the draft. You had the opportunity to get these guys, but you passed on the quarterback that you're going to ultimately trade. I don't think that's smart, because we got a lot of guys in this draft that are doing pretty good, and looking at this Atlanta Falcons defense with the injury with Braylon Trice, it just doesn't seem like, it would be a smart thing. You talk about incompetent. This would be the incompetent. This would be the icing on the cake for this franchise, to not only draft a guy when you could have had other players on the defense side of the ball, especially with the defense playing so much, so badly, and having, one of the worst sack totals in God knows how long. We're talking about these guys, 11 sacks, 10 sacks in the last 11 games. And this is absolutely the worst in history. I think only one team has had the worst under 11 games, 10 sacks in the last 11 games in the last 20 or so years. Yeah, this is pretty bad for the Atlanta Falcons. All right, so passing on defensive guys that you could have had for Michael Penix just to turn around and trade them, I don't think the Falcons will do that. It'd be just completely ignorant, in my opinion. So, this is the scenario. Now, the Atlanta Falcons could very well keep him. But in my opinion, when you drafted a guy that was already 24, when you drafted him turning 25, it just signifies to me with the personnel. You got a guy like Darnell Mooney. I think you signed a 2-3 year deal with Darnell Mooney. You got a young Drake London. He's a young guy. You got to figure out whether or not he's better with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix. You got Kyle Pitts coming up soon. His 5th year option coming up soon. You got to figure out which quarterback he's better with. And then you got to figure out what guys like Ray McLeod. I think Ray McLeod is going to be free agent. You have Rondale Moore. He's going to be free agent. So the Atlanta Falcons have a lot of pieces offensively that they could quite possibly lose next year. And, if Kirk Cousins isn't that guy, all right, if he isn't that guy, I think he's going to end up being traded. The Atlanta Falcons are going to move on and start the young rookie quarterback. Because like I said, what we've seen in this game, man, he makes good decisions, and that dude arm is live. Michael Penix arm is freaking live. So let me know what you guys think about this, man. Like I said, I don't think the Falcons or Kirk Cousins, they're going to completely, I just don't think the Falcons are going to end up, completely, as far as their record is concerned, they'll be fine. I just think at this point in time, these are the conversations that you have to think about. The possibility of the Falcons completely folding, losing 2 out of the next 3 games is going to be, the next 3 games with the Atlanta Falcons is going to be huge. But if they lose the next 2 out of the 3 games, this is a real conversation for the Atlanta Falcons and them trading Kirk Cousins and starting Michael Penix next year. Because, like I said, this guy's already started 2 games. Granted, that has been in situations where, it's mop-up duty for the most part. I wouldn't put too much behind it, but this is a conversation that you have to have. You have to focus on this, and you have to have that conversation. So let me know what you guys think about this particular topic. And like I said, if you have not checked out that live show with Coach Unchained, not only Atlanta Falcon Nation, but his channel, Coach Unchained, Michael Penix or Kirk Cousins. Will the Atlanta Falcons decide to trade Kirk Cousins? Will he be one and done in Atlanta? I personally do not think so. But if the Atlanta Falcons record, if they end up completely blowing this lead that they've had in the South, I think is no question, in my opinion, that Kirk Cousins will be out. I just don't see them wasting their time with a older quarterback that is 36 right now, when you have a 25-year-old flamethrower sitting behind him, ready to make it make his debut. So the Atlanta Falcons fans, they are waiting for it. A lot of Atlanta Falcons fans, they do want to win, so they hoping for the best with Kirk Cousins. And I believe that Kirk Cousins can make a playoff push if the Atlanta Falcons, just play better defensively. They gotta play better defensively. But if they can't play better defensively, that's even more of a reason why you have to trade Kirk Cousins. Why? To get even more opportunity to bring in picks, and just start to build around guys like Rook. We don't know if Grady Jarrett is going to be, here long term for the next 3 years or so. We don't know what the Atlanta Falcons are going to do with David Onyemata. He's another one of those guys. So the Falcons have a lot, and I'm talking about a lot, to consider this year, especially if the Falcons end up blowing this lead that they have in the NFC South. So this has been your boy, Mad Mike. Continue to support Mad Mike Sports. Hit that subscribe button, not only here, but Atlanta Falcons Nation. So again, check out Coach Unchained. We did that video on Kirk Cousins and whether or not he is one done, or he could be one and done with the Atlanta Falcons. And next year, we're started to see the young bull, Michael Penix Jr., and start the new era. This has been your boy, man Mike. Hit that subscribe button, and I'm out of here, man. Peace.